So, what happened to you this week?
Who, me?
Yeah.
It busted my back. I don't know. I was doing something. I think it was like a bad movement, and I destroyed it. Couldn't even move after that.
Nah, I've been there.
Then I cut my fingers too at work. Like,
Dang, dude, God disciplined you this week, huh?
yeah, not knowingly, destroyed me.
Interesting.
Yeah, but mostly was the back. I mean, I did like this weird movement, and I don't know, man. Maybe because I'm getting old. Comes with age.
I mean, are you stretching?
I stretch. Not as much as I should, yeah. Like, especially when I go work out. I do stretch there. But it's also recommended, like, before you go to sleep, after you wake up, you know, stretch your body. So, I guess the ligaments, everything is just moving nicely, right? But I guess now I've learned my lesson.
Nah, trust me, I've learned my lesson too. That's
Really?
why every night I always stretch, and I stretch in like weird positions because sometimes those muscles like you gotta like really.
No, yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, granted, back like a couple years ago, like 10 years ago, I think maybe 2012, 2011, I was a pretty big guy. I mean, like big. So during that time, my friend and my brother were helping me out trying to, get into that fitness thing. And then I started liking it. And it was fun because after I started to see the results, I was being more fueled to wanting to keep going.
So you had the desire.
Yeah, it was like, it was no longer like a necessity because to being healthy, because I already reached that point. But then it was just became a desire to want to continue do it. Like,
yeah, to get more
lifting,
results.
lifting and all that stuff. And I got really deep into it for a very long time. I still am, but not as much as before. But it was a desire. Although I wasn't even winning trophies or anything like that, but it was just something that it was always there now. You know what I mean? So that's something a little bit about me. And for those who don't know me, my name is Oscar. And that's just a little taste of being introduced to fitness. Truth be told, the doctor was like, back in 2011, if you were to just run, you would have a cardiac arrest. That's how much cholesterol you have.
What?
Yeah, dude.
No way.
So it was for that reason. And for those who know me and listening, they know. I was like 280 pounds of just sheer straight fat.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then the process started, my brother and my friend were helping me out at that time because I had no idea about fitness. All I did was just run, to the point where I got too skinny. Like, I looked sick. So then they're like, no, man, you got to start lifting weights now. So then I started. And that is when the desire kicked in. When I started lifting weights, I was like, whoa.
You saw the results and it fueled you, right?
It wasn't, I saw the results already just running, right? Like a lot. But the desire came more when I started to lift weight and I noticed my own strength. I was like, that fueled me even more. So yeah, that's how I was introduced to, I guess, fitness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. But for me this week, like, you asked me an interesting question that, like, I guess you can say challenged me, where you asked me, when you search for God, do you search for him because you think you need it, or do you desire it? And like, so many things were going through my mind. I'm like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, because that came up to me because, truth be told, our friend, you know her, right?
Yeah.
She brought that question up to me, right? Because I asked her a question about prayer. And she was like, well, when you're in your bed and you forgot that you had to pray, what do you say to yourself? Oh, I need to get up and pray. It almost became like an obligation, right? Then she then said, correct. So tell me, should prayer be a need or a desire? So when she said that, it blew my mind, because then I was like, wait a minute. So then our pursuit for God, the moment we decided to believe and pick up that cross, was it because of a need or because we desire him? And it challenged me so much that I had to ask you, although I knew the answer right away, because it challenged me instantly challenged me. But the answer came right away. But I wanted to know your thoughts on it. So that's why I asked you.
No, and the whole week I was actually like battling that question,
Right.
because like in our previous episode we talk about the submission of the flesh.
Right.
Okay, like I got that under control, like, you know. And I this whole week, you know, like obviously I haven't been struggling with the flesh, thank the Lord, because, you know, God has given me strength, and I realized,
Of course,
having the flesh submitted to your spirit, that's the key. But it's almost like when you asked me that question, it was almost like I entered a new phase. Like, what? Like, hold on. Desire versus need. Like, it doesn't have to do with battling the flesh. This is a whole different story.
absolutely,
It's like a deeper meaning to it. And I'm like, interesting.
exactly.
And, you know, we started obviously meditating on it and praying about it. And we came to, like, I guess, a small conclusion, which I know it's deeper than this, but needs are just temporary.
Yep,
And desire is like you're driven and driven.
exactly.
Right?
So like, need is a temporary want,
Exactly.
and desire is a want that's permanent.
Correct.
Right. And I like what our friend told us too, or at least she told it to me. I believe she told it to you too, is that desire is an instinct. Just like the flesh has the desire to want to do the lustful things of the world, so does the spirit has the desire to want to do the will of God. So with depending where that meter lands, your desire will be according to that, right?
And that makes a lot of sense. That's why, like, our flesh has this desire naturally to, like, go do the things of the flesh. And our spirit has this natural desire to seek God. So when you brought up that image of the meter stick, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. So the moments when you don't have that desire, like, we need to analyze ourselves and be like,
Yeah,
are we, like, in the flesh? Or
exactly.
because these people from the Bible, like our brothers, you know, in the Bible, like, they got answers, and they were not good answers. Like,
Yeah.
Paul asked, can I be healed from this?
Right.
And God said no, but he was still driven. The desire for God was still always there.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy, because he's praying for this thorn in his flesh, whatever that may be. If it's like trauma or body pain, or whatever it may be, because to this day we don't know. We can speculate. And after praying, God just said, no, my grace is perfected in your weakness. Like, Paul understood that, because Paul had acquired a significant amount of power in the presence of God, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was granted that ownership over authority to do things, right? He was like a proprietor Christian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
it's
okay.
Like
Yeah,
God granting him permission to do all these things in his name.
Yeah.
And so because Paul knew that, God had to leave him with that thorn so that he never exalted himself or deliberately just disobey him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I totally know what you mean.
And so that would fuel him. And right. And so what fuels you? Is it because you come to God for a need? Or is it because you just genuinely desire him, regardless of your need and wants? Right. So when I was like big and I started working out, I was initially doing it because of what the doctor said to me. If the doctor doesn't say to me, you have high cholesterol, I would just continue doing my thing, eating like 2 bacon, egg and cheese in the morning with 5 pancakes at the college in the morning. And like, I would just keep doing that.
Yeah.
If he doesn't tell me that like was like, all right, maybe I should put some effort. I started working out. I saw the results. I saw the evidence, and I kept going. That kept fueling me. But every time I met my satisfaction, I wanted more. It never was satisfied, like as I was working out and all that stuff. So, but because I started working out, also gave me the ability to be more disciplined in the spirit, for God,
Yeah.
right? Because my body was already training itself to a purpose, getting up in the morning to go to the gym or go to the gym at night. I had that routine. So I was able to apply that into my spirit. But then I started to realize something, that as I was during those times going like twice a day, if possible, at the gym, I was also saying, well, you're going twice. Why can't you just like go triple, quadruple on God? And you're going twice for your physical. Why not for your spiritual? And so I was always finding myself with that. What fuels me? Because what was fueling me in the physical was because I saw the evidence. Right. But sometimes spiritually, I wasn't necessarily fully fueled, because when you walk with God, man, you don't see most of the things. You believe without seeing. And that's a blessing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there is a difference. Do you come to God because of a need, or because you genuinely just desire him? And this goes for anything in your life, in your daily life, whatever you do.
No, and one thing that fuels me with God is like it's not the church. Even though I love being with my brothers and sisters, it's not the church. It's mostly just like when I spend time with him, when I have my flesh submitted to my spirit and I just keep walking, God eventually, like, I guess you can say, reveals something to me or shows me something, and that keeps me fueled. Like, oh wow, this wisdom. Like, and then there are moments where he doesn't answer me. That's okay, but like you said, like, you should always desire, always, no matter what, even if God answers or not, even if it's a yes or a no, the desire should always be there. Because I realized that, like, back then when I would come to God for a need, I'm not even joking, like, this was me back then. Like, I would come to God for a need, God would answer it, and I'd run away. Because it was just a temporary feeling. It was a temporary thing.
But a lot of Christians do that.
Yeah. And
they do it. They do that.
I'm guilty of it myself too for doing that.
Oh, I've fallen into that trap too.
Yeah.
And every time I fall into that trap, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I did this simply because I wanted this. Right? And you know what? Sometimes God will allow it.
Yeah, exactly. God will allow it.
When you want what you want, he gives it to you, only to find out the end result is not what you expected. And now you have a hard time picking yourself up.
I totally agree.
Because you've depended on a need in order to follow God. Now, when that need is not there, where's your desire?
Exactly. Like, for example, athletes, right?
Right.
Like, athletes, they lose a lot. Even the pros, like, they've lost a lot getting to where they are. They just continued because they had the desire to keep going through a bunch of sacrifices, through discipline, dieting, everything.
Right.
Because even Paul talks about this in 1 Corinthians 9, 24, all the way to 27. He says, do you know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wrath. Or, prize. But we an imperishable. So I do not aimlessly, I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified.
All right. So he's making, so what he's saying is the athlete has this desire and they're doing it for something that means nothing, like a perishable trophy or crown, right?
Yeah.
They're like going all out for something that's meaningless.
Correct.
But he says, but we are doing for something meaningful, which is an unperishable crown, meaning eternal life. So therefore, I do not, so then he says, I'm not like an athlete who's just doing this for no reason, right? Because in the end, the athlete does what he does in the end for nothing, right? But what he is saying is, I put this body into submission, into slavery, I guess, whichever translation you're reading, right? And then what he does should be a reflection when he's preaching out there. Lest if he doesn't do that, he will find himself disqualified. You are seen disqualified, basically a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you reconcile your spiritual life while being in the world? How do you deal with that? Right? Because that doesn't mean God doesn't hear all prayers. He hears them all. He'll even hear the prayer of someone who's wicked. The question is, when he considers it, does he accept it? Well, then he go out of his way to say, I heard your prayer. Because Daniel, he when he started his fast and praying, it stopped at the day 21. But if he wouldn't have gotten an answer, he would have kept going. He would have kept going past the 21 days. But at the 21st day, that's when his prayer was answered. But the angel tells him that his prayer was answered from the moment he started. So because we don't know that realm, we have to desire him regardless of the fact if we can see the things, if we can see them or not. We have to just desire to want to pursue his presence, not because of a need or because of an obligation. It's because you desire him. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that itself is also a challenge too. Like when you asked me that question, like in the way you described it, just like that, I was like, no, you're right. Like no matter what, even if we do receive it or not, we should always have the desire, always, because that's how we know we are walking in spirit.
Yeah, because I mean, even Paul says, lest you find yourself disqualified. If he brings that up, it's because you can find yourself disqualified, not from salvation, right? But more like of a deliberate disobedience on how you should walk as a child. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He's not referring to salvation, but more into how you should present yourself before God as a child. And for others, when they see you and you preach or share the gospel, your fruits will show them. If not, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your story?
Oh, my story and how I came to God?
Well, anything.
Well, this is actually a good topic then because, like, since I was little, I grew up in the church.
Right.
I would just hear, listen, but I didn't really like live it. And I would come to God for needs all the time because, this is the way I would think. And I would always end up in the same spot, always repeatedly. And one day I came to a realization, and it was like at night. And I left everything for God, like literally everything that I had, I left it. And I realized that now, like, God isn't just like this God that you follow, like a genie bottle. He's not this genie bottle where you follow him whenever you want or whenever you need something.
Right.
God is a God that's a king that's sitting on the throne and is expecting you to carry that cross and follow him.
Exactly.
So after that, when I came to a realization to that, I let go of everything. I denied myself hardcore for the first time in my life. And I remember I only got 1 hour of sleep that day, and I went straight to church. And I was like destroyed. And I was with you, remember?
Right. Yeah.
I texted you, and I was like, yeah, man, I let go of everything, bro. And you're like, all right, come to church. And I only slept 1 hour that day, and I was destroyed. But the thing is, it almost felt like God was like, okay, eat, sleep, rest, because tomorrow you'll start brand new. Yeah. And that's when I realized that you don't worship God based off what you need. It's a desire. And at that moment, I desired to find out who this God is that I've been listening to my whole life since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Who this God is that they talk about all the time in the Bible and TV and everything. And then my perspective on God has drifted a lot in a good way, realizing who God is and what his love truly means. Yeah. Because I used to think God's love was different, but now I realize it's completely different from the world.
Exactly.
It's almost like a 180.
Yeah. I mean, when I was born, from the moment I started to rationalize, I was in church. Even my friends, like, we didn't even get to meet and greet. We just, oh, hey, what's up? And we just became like bros, right? Till this day. I didn't really understand. I know what they were preaching about. Like it was coming through one ear, coming out the other.
Exactly.
But I started to actually understand basically what happened to Job. Like I heard you, but now my eyes can see. That's what happened to me in 2011, right? And it was almost like in sync because in 2011 is when I started my, I guess weight loss journey. But then towards the end of 2011, this is when God grabs me. And it was like a personal spiritual experience, encounter that I just got on my knees and I sobbed for like 3 hours. Mucus was coming out. It was like it just broken down. But after that, it was peaceful. And I knew that after that, it was the work starting, the journey, right? Slowly but surely, I was understanding the things that fuel for needs or for the desire. And up until just recently, was that brought up to me where I am right now, spiritually. And I understood one makes a decision to turn away from the world to come to God because you desire it. You desire it. And that flame of desire for God should always stay lit, not dwindling, but always lit. And so as time passed, I saw you grow up too. I saw the challenge that you were going through. You were also into sports, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I was into sports. Yeah, I like sports. I think sports are.
Yeah, because I remember you did like wrestling and all that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You even told me one time that some Christian at the airport told you something about being a champion or something like that.
Oh yeah, this is this was supernatural. This was like at the airport in Florida. I think it was on our way back. Actually, like in Newark. We were in Newark. Actually, we landed and everything.
Right.
And the whole week that I was in Florida, it was weird. It was like it was like very dark, I guess you can say, because sometimes in my room I would hear knocking, or when I would go to the bathroom at night, I would like see like the curtains like flopping and moving, and it was just weird. And I remember when I was in Florida, this pastor, I can tell he was a pastor because the way he was dressed, and he had a Bible in his hand.
Right.
He goes up to my mom, and he tells my mom, like, "Oh, does your son fight? Does your son do something like grab or anything?" And I was with my dad, so I like turned around to see if my mom was there, and there was this guy sitting next to my mom, and he calls me over. He's like, "Come here," and I go up to him, and he's like, "Do you do some type of fighting or something, like you grapple?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I did wrestling in high school." And he was like, "Well, keep fighting, because one day you will be up there." And I was in the flesh. I didn't really understand what that really meant. It could have meant literally, or probably most likely meant spiritually. But like after he said that, the whole time I was on my way back home, I was frozen because I was like, "What just happened?" I'm like, the whole like weird experience in Florida, and then this, and after that, I guess it was demons, bro. Like that were just trying to torment me over there.
Right.
It went away completely after that.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
They never bothered me again. But like before that, they were bothering me every night. It was so annoying. And after that, yeah, it was like I felt this peace, and I was wondering. So, and after that, I started going really hard in jiu-jitsu. I started training all the time, every day, and I entered a tournament. I got second place, and then since I was not submitted under God, I was in my needs, I guess you can say, like if
Right.
like, and I fell away from God again, but I was still training. But God was far away from my mind because I got what I needed, and I ended up even in a worse spot than before.
Wow.
And that is when the whole testimony I gave right before this. Yeah, that is when it all played, and then I came to God truly. And I gave my life to God completely, but God had to put me in the most lowest spot of my life.
Yeah. I mean, I guess some of us are stubborn, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I could say honestly, I don't come out as a humble person right away. But God presents opportunities, for us for humbleness to develop, right?
Yeah.
First of all, so sometimes we're stubborn and we have to go through things in which God, he's not doing it because he wants to destroy us, or he lets things happen so that you can realize that he is king.
Exactly.
You want me to tell you a story quickly?
Yeah, yeah.
In the book of Daniel, I actually was like listening to yesterday, the whole thing, almost done with it. He teaches the king of Babylon a lesson. First, he dreams about it. He doesn't know what it means. He asks everybody. Then Daniel gives it his interpretation. And the interpretation to it was, you've become a great king, that many nations come to you and they all feed from you because you provide everything, right? And Daniel even tells him, but take this advice, for God has put you in that position. So it so happened that time passed. The king was walking and he then said with arrogance, is this not the great Babylon that I have created? When that happened, the interpretation which Daniel gave him came to pass. He became an animal, thought like an animal. He ate like grass like an animal for a certain amount of periods until you realize that God is king.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So God hasn't changed. He's still the same,
Yeah.
right? The only difference here is that his son came to die for humanity, for those who believe in him, right? And so your testimony is actually very interesting because you're wrestling and jiu-jitsu, you like boxing, you like all of that stuff, right? And the same it was for me, man. I was playing music. I was becoming kind of successful, meeting cool people, playing with a lot of cool places. And there came a point, I believe like around 2012, 13, where during service, I instantaneously forgot how to play. For like a couple of seconds, I like lost all the knowledge on how to play piano at that moment. And then it came back and it freaked me out. Because I was like, what was that? What was that? Oh my God. I was like, no, don't do this to me. Right? Then as time was passing, bro, I was forgetting how to play music. Literally. Like the knowledge. It wasn't because I wasn't practicing. It was like he was taking it out of my brain. At one point I then told God, all right, fine. If you want to take everything, take it. But this is the only thing I have. You take this, what do I have? And that's when he's teaching me. Oh, so you're serving me, so you can worship me only if you're playing music.
Interesting.
And then I had learned the difference between need and desire, but I guess not until now with the collective information of so many years. I understand that your desire for God shouldn't be because you have this or you use this to facilitate yourself to worship him or because of a need. Or this is the thing that fuels you to worship God. Your desire for God, regardless of the fact of like your wants and needs, should fuel you. That alone should fuel you in the pursuit of his presence. And we all go through things in our lives. Some probably don't have to go through hard things because they're more inclined to humbleness. People like me are not inclined so much to humbleness that we're so stubborn that he has to like teach us a lesson, you know what I mean? But I think that it is okay if you are angry or let it all out. Don't hold it so that you can give humbleness a space to develop within your heart so that you can find out and discover what truly fuels you. If it's a temporary fuel or if it's a permanent fuel, right? That lights up that desire moving forward in the pursuit of God. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, and I've learned that even if God doesn't answer or if he answers, you should always have that desire no matter what, because you're serving him out of love. Like we always claim that we love God. So why not act it?
Yeah, I mean, like the young person that came to Christ, he told him, I've done everything. What else do I have to do, Master? And Jesus was like, okay, sell your things and follow me. So he still had certain things that he was attached to. But sometimes God will highlight that need or that you think you need that in your life in order to, no, he'll rip it away from you. Now, can you still serve me if I take that away from you?
Yeah, and that's the challenge.
Right?
When he takes that stuff away from you.
How much do you make Jesus the center of your life in anything? If you're single or if you're in a relationship or in your marriage, how much do you make him the center of your life?
Yeah, that's why Paul says, like, I've learned to be content. Like when he had everything, when he doesn't have anything, he's learned.
Exactly. So as you desire God, you automatically have that self-control, which is one of the fruits of the Spirit, to discipline the body and to tame it. All right? So that before God, you are qualified. Or like, I believe in 2 Timothy or 1 Timothy, it says, find yourself approved by God. All right? Be diligent. Right? So I think serving God, following him, pursuing him, carrying that cross every day, and because you've denied yourself, it's a reminder. Are you doing this because you need something? Or are you doing this out of obligation? Or are you doing this because it's cultural or trendy? Or are you doing it because you know you're a sinner and you desire him above anything? Whether if riches or not, you're desiring him no matter what. Whether if he answers your prayer about some acceptance letter of college, or if you're in the pursuit of a girl, or vice versa, in pursuit of a guy, whatever it may be, if you're like for your business or this or that, do you desire to follow him no matter what the result of whatever you're asking for him? Because clearly Paul got a no from God, and Paul still served him with all his desires to pursue him.
As Christians, we should all strive to be like that.
Of course.
Always.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want to find myself disqualified, right?
Nah, me neither.
When an athlete gets disqualified, doesn't mean he can't play the game anymore. Just he has to wait and start all over. Or
and face the consequences.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't mean you're losing salvation. It just means like, don't deliberately disobey him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't deliberately disobey him. Because we can. And it happens. But I think that as time passes by, you and us, everybody, will understand what God is trying to do here, right? We are his people. And so he must correct us as such. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
I love it. Every single time God corrects me, I love it.
Yeah.
Because it just shows that he goes out of his way.
Absolutely. And I think that as brothers and sisters, we should be able to correct each other, exhort one another, so that we remain in this path. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Otherwise, why do it at all? We're all in this together, in this race. All right? And for a crown that's unperishable, which is eternal life.
Amen. No, I totally agree with you. I just think Paul, to me, like, has been an excellent, like, I guess you can say, like his teachings are excellent. And like he's like, I admire a lot of his teachings of the flesh, and now the desire.
Right.
And I think we should all study his teachings because they are hard.
Yeah, they're hard to understand.
But if you understand them, only through God, only through the Spirit, you can truly understand what Paul is really talking about. Because a carnal man will never understand what Paul really means.
Yeah, you're right. A natural man would not understand it. The gravity of his teachings, right? Even Peter said, if not taught well, they can be twisted. Right?
Yeah.
And Peter knew that because not that they were complicated, they were just deep.
Very deep.
It's deep.
Yeah.
It's real deep. And sometimes we depend on that digital cross.
Oh, yeah. No, and I've fallen into that trap too.
You know what I mean? Hey, I say it because it has happened to me. It doesn't happen to me anymore, but we create this collective information of the gospel through social media, TikTok or Instagram. I think it's so wrong.
No, yeah.
That's so wrong.
No, and I've fallen into that trap. That's why, like, sometimes when I see something, I come to you and I ask you, I'm like, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, you should always discern what you're watching in social media. And I get most of the people there I know they're not doing it with a bad heart, but not all the context it will be included there. You have to go out of your way to go read the scriptures and see if what they're saying is aligned with the Spirit of God. You know what I mean? So let's carry the cross literally, like physically, not digitally, because we live in a world that everything is digital, literally everything. I mean, honestly, you don't need to carry a Bible anymore. You can literally download the app and you have the Bible there now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So I think to close this, meditate on need versus desire. And do you come to God because you desire him, or because you come to him because of a need? And once that need is satisfied, do you continue? Or do you just stand back?
No, yeah, and always discern if you are living in the flesh or if you are truly walking in the Spirit. Because remember, they both have natural instincts. And the one that is in the flesh naturally desires the things of the flesh. And the one that is naturally in the Spirit will naturally want to do the things of the Spirit.
That's good. So walk, think in the Spirit, and don't walk and think in the flesh.